Okay. Can you still see the screen?
Everything's good.
Okay. All right, great. Welcome. Today we'll be discussing the importance of copyright and fair use in education. As educators, we use a variety of resources, but it's crucial to understand how copyright laws apply to our teaching materials. By the end of this session, you'll feel more confident navigating copyright and fair use policies. So, our objectives for today are to define copyright and fair use, explain why copyright matters in education. We'll also discuss ways to legally and ethically use educational materials and explore alternatives like Creative Commons licenses. And of course, as always, when we discuss, we will provide best practices for using these copyrighted materials. So, what is copyright? What do you think that refers to?
I like the use of like other people's information, things that other
Okay.
people put out, like music and movies and books and magazine articles. Make sure they get credit.
All right, perfect. So it's legal protection for original works, like you said, books, music, images, and videos. It gives creators exclusive rights to reproduce, distribute, and display their own work. And then, of course, it's going to automatically apply upon creation. So that's no formal registration required for protection. So, why is copyright important?
I know,
Why do you
like
think we?
I've done so much work. Like I have a master's degree and started working another degree. So it's like you have to make sure that the work that you're providing, you know what I'm saying, is yours. We need to make sure that people are putting out their stuff. So that's like we need to make sure that you're not someone did all of the work and then someone else is getting the credit.
Exactly. So, it encourages creativity and innovation. So, again, you want to make sure that if you spend your time and effort, that you're getting credit for it. It's going to protect that intellectual property, whatever it is. If it's music, books, if it's articles, if it's your own work for school, whatever it is. It's going to ensure that you receive fair compensation if you're a creator of work, and it's going to prevent unauthorized use of your works. So let's talk about understanding fair use. So, fair use is a legal doctrine that allows limited use of copyrighted materials under very specific conditions. So, it's going to aim to balance the rights of copyright holders with the public's rights to access information. It's particularly relevant in education because it allows teachers to incorporate materials for instructional purposes. There are four factors when we consider fair use. So, courts consider these four when they're deciding whether or not someone has violated or is actually considering fair use when they're using material. So, for educational purposes, um, we're talking about uh, purpose and character. So, is the material educational or commercial in use? The nature of the work? Is it factual information or is it creative content? How much is the person using? Is just a little bit, a small portion, or is it a significant portion? And then the effect on the market value. So, does using the material replace the need for the original? And we'll talk about that in a little more detail. So, here's some common misconceptions about fair use. Go ahead and read that first one for me.
If it's online, I can use it.
Have you heard that before?
Yeah.
Have you said that before?
No, only because I know better because I've been in higher education. So I
Right.
know better, but I know people who don't run in those circles and they don't know.
Yes. So I've definitely heard it before. If it's online, that means people put it out there and they meant for me to use it. And that is not always the case.
No.
If I credit the author, it's okay.
Yeah, to a degree.
Yeah, like you said, to a degree. So yeah, if you credit the author, um, it's uh, it's not automatically fair use.
Right.
Okay, so for educational purposes, anything goes.
Again, it depends on the situation and a
Exactly.
couple of
Yeah.
factors that go into that.
Can you give me an example?
So I can't like take Charlotte's Web instead of buying. I have a copy at home. I want my kids to read Charlotte's Web. I can't copy that entire book and pass it out to my class. I need to buy the book. Like the school needs to buy the book or whatever, but I can have a lesson and have an excerpt of Charlotte's Web and say, this is a paragraph from a book called Charlotte's Web by such and such and such and such. And we could discuss that for a discussion in class, but I can't do the whole book or the whole chapter for my use.
Perfect. That leads us right into this next slide. So here are examples of fair use in education, and right there in that middle one, quoting small portions of text for analysis. So that's exactly what you would do with your students. If you were using Charlotte's Web, you would take an excerpt, part of a chapter, a paragraph or two, and then use it for them to read and to analyze. So yeah, exactly. Um, so you could use short clips from the movie Charlotte's Web for a classroom discussion to compare the portion of the text that you use to the movie version and see how the director and the author viewed the characters, Wilbur and Charlotte, to see if there's a difference and see how they're similar. So you could absolutely use short clips from movies and small portions of the text for that kind of analysis. Sharing images for a school project with proper attribution. So if in having watched the clip from the movie and read a portion of the text, you had your students create a multimedia presentation, they could use snippets of the movie or small portions of the text um, to create a multimedia presentation, as long as they give proper credit to E.B. White for the text, and then I don't know who directed the movie, but for the director of the movie. So absolutely, those are great examples that you came up with. Okay, so what is not fair use? Like you said, copying entire books or chapters. So if you wanted your kids to read the whole book, then you'd have to ask your department head to buy a class set of Charlotte's Web.
Right.
Um, yeah, downloading and distributing full copyrighted songs. So if the movie had a song you really, really liked, you couldn't give that, download that whole song and use it. Um, Using copyrighted images in published work without permission. So we all have to make sure we are getting permission to use these works. Okay. So let's talk about Creative Commons and public domain. So Creative Commons licenses allow creators to share their work with specific conditions. Um, Public domain works are free for everyone to use because they're no longer under copyright protection. So I don't know if you know about Steamboat Willie.
Mhm.
He was the original version of Mickey Mouse. And
Okay.
Yeah, Disney is very protective of its images and its characters that they've created. But Steamboat Willie was created um, long enough ago that
Mm.
the copyright protection has expired.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, so people can use that version of Mickey Mouse, that very first
Okay.
original
Oh,
version.
that's the black and white one?
Yeah, it's the black and white one that's at
Okay.
the on the train
Yeah.
whistling.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that one's not protected under copyright anymore. So you can use that freely. That's in the public domain.
Okay.
So works by Shakespeare and Beethoven, for example, because those were produced before there were copyright laws. Those are free for people to use, and you'll
Okay.
find those in certain places, and you can use the whole text because they're just there for us to use. Creative Commons Licensing is alternative licensing that allows free use with some conditions.
Correct.
Okay, and I'm going to show you examples of those.
Okay.
So one of the issues I always had for me when I was in the classroom trying to find material is, where do I find copyright free material? Because I know I didn't have the time, one, to write to somebody, to ask for permission, to use the material, and wait for a response. We definitely didn't have the budget
Right.
to pay for, whatever the copyright fee is or royalty for using music or videos. And like you said, if it's on the internet, it's not always free.
Right.
So it's not free to use. So
Mhm.
these are just a few places where you can go to find royalty-free images, music, books, and videos. So this is a site called Unsplash,
Mhm.
and it has images.
Okay.
So you can just do an internet search for any kind of image, and it'll show you images that are free to use. So this is travel. That's a nice picture of someplace with mountains. I don't know if that's snow. Um, but Philip P put that out there for you for
Okay.
use. You can download it for free. Um, so that's a sunrise
Okay.
that you can use for free. So Unsplash is a great place for images, all kinds of images. Free Music Archive for audio. It's not going to be the latest music that's on the radio because those people want to get paid.
Of course.
But you can find music by genre because
Probably most of the music I listen to is probably on there. I don't listen to no new music.
okay. So Armageddon Gospel Revival has music on here.
Okay.
So under gospel music, we found 247 tracks of music to use. So you can use instrumental music if you want to. You just want that, okay? And it says Halloween, so it's under more than one category. So if you just want easy listening, just type in a category instrumental. We want that.
Yeah.
So lottery number ID 547 remastered, easy listening. Okay, that's Latin
Mm.
music. Here's some jazz, lo-fi. Okay,
Okay.
so that's one site you can use. I love that. This is Project Gutenberg. This gives you free ebooks. So this is where
Awesome.
you'll find the classics,
Mm.
those works in our canon that are free to use. You can search by what's frequently downloaded, the top 100, what's popular, anything recently added. Um, this is for contemporary authors right here. Visit self.gutenberg.org for contemporary people. So there's some audiobooks on there too, not nearly as many as the ebooks, but certainly some audiobooks you could use. And that's especially helpful for you if you have kids who need to have things read to them. That's a way to find some good books that good quality classic books
Right. Good.
for them to listen to. What else? Here's Creative Commons search tools. And then OER is something I just really got a hold of, open educational resources. And this is teaching, learning, and research resources in the public domain. So this gives us as teachers a way to do some personal staff development,
Okay.
uh, personal growth type activities.
That's
So these
good.
are all kinds of educational resources for us that are free.
That's awesome.
And that's a small sampling. So best practices for educators. Always, always, always check the copyright policies. Um, Sometimes your campus may have some, policies. I know one of the first schools I worked at, we had a copy clerk who was an unofficial copyright policeman because she would check to make sure we weren't sending her whole copies, whole chapters of stuff to copy. And
Okay.
she would alert the principal, and he would come back and say, "Hey, you can't do this." So they kept us, they kept us out of trouble.
Yeah.
Um, use fair use guidelines to evaluate materials. Those four that we talked about.
Yeah.
How much are you using? Um, does it affect the monetary compensation that the producer will receive? Those guidelines. When in doubt, seek permission, and then provide proper attribution. So let's do this case study. Is this fair use? So Mrs. Smith uses a short 3-minute clip from a documentary for discussion. The clip is used only in the classroom and not uploaded online. She uses the clip to prompt discussion and analysis among her students. Is that fair use?
Yes, that's fair use.
Okay. Explain why you think that's fair use.
It's fair use because she's not using it as her whole lesson. It's a documentary, and she's only using a short 3-minute clip to prompt the discussion. It's not her pushing it off. Hey, look what I did, you guys. It's just a part of her lesson. It's not her trying to push off her work as hers.
Okay. Um, you're right. It's a documentary, so that's factual. Um, it's used for educational purposes, right? For discussion in her classroom. She's not uploading it online and pretending that it's hers. Um, and she's going to make sure, I'm sure she's going to make sure that in her lesson plans that she credits the director, the producer for the documentary.
Right.
So it's clear that whoever is watching her lesson understands that this is not her own personal work. Okay. Is this copyright infringement? Mr. Johnson copies entire chapters of a popular novel for his literature class. He just could not get his department head to pay for their classroom set. So he hands them out to his students for reading and analysis.
Yes, that is copyright infringement. Absolutely.
Very, yes, very clearly, Mr. Johnson and Ms. Smith are not on the same page at all.
They are
So
not.
um,
He's taking money away from the author. Like, why would they buy their copy if, you know what I'm saying, they could just get it from Mr. Johnson for free?
there you go. So Mr. Johnson is giving them chapters 1 through 3, and they want the rest of the book. And he says, "Okay, sure, give me a couple days," and then he copies that. So yeah, that's no need to go buy a book. Yeah, definitely copyright infringement. So in addition to the resources I showed you, here's some more. U.S. Copyright Office. So if you have questions about what is legal and what is not, Copyright Office is an excellent place to go look. Creative Commons, I showed you that website. And then there's a fair use evaluator tool that you could use. Oh, I didn't put the link. I'm sorry.
Okay.
But it's a tool that it's a chart that lets you look at the four factors of fair use,
Yeah.
and decide if your work would fit in that that fair use domain. So what's the purpose and the character? It's the nature of your work. How much do you plan to use? And then what's the effect on the market value?
Right.
So all of that's in there in that tool. Okay, so let's do a summary and key takeaways. Can you read that for me?
Sure. Copyright laws protect creators and users. Fair use allows limited educational use. Always verify permissions before using copyrighted works and utilize public domain and Creative Commons resources.
All right. So make sure you understand all of that. Recognize fair use when you see it and when you don't. And then make sure you always use legal alternatives whenever possible. And part of my job is to help you. So if you have any questions, then that's what I'm here for. So
Awesome.
it's my job as the librarian to make sure that I'm fully aware of what copyright laws are, what fair use looks like, what it doesn't look like, and then if you have any work that you want to give to your students, that we can discuss it, and I can help you make sure you're following the proper guidelines.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay. So I want to thank you for your time and attention today. And I very much appreciate your helping
This
me
was a
out.
good lesson. This is really, really good. I feel so informed.
Well, good. Okay. I'm going to end the recording.